suddenly, and on Christmas Day was given the news that he had bowel cancer. He was to learn just weeks later that it was incurable and time was limited. Although he lived a very public life, Mike chose to walk his journey privately. His focus became his family and his faith, which he professed through his music. With the new Mass translation, Mike began writing his first Mass setting, and then another and another, 6 in all. He read scripture, he talked to his friends, many of whom were priests. He read paper documents, and from that the music flowed. I'm still stumbling across lyrics and chords written on the back of receipts, napkins, and church newsletters. Mike never set out to make these CDs, but as the songs continued to become more prolific and beautiful, they deserved home. So he began recording. Many of you will be familiar with Mike speaking of his office at home at the bottom of the garden, and he fondly called it the liturgy shack. Myself and the boys became accustomed to musicians walking through the house at all hours to record their parts. And if they couldn't come, Mike would go to them, or use technology to have parts sent to him. Up until April last year, Mike was taking these tracks to the recording studio to mix. I worried, how could I not? But he had a calling, and so we all supported him as best we could. When Mike first started performing in his late teens, he produced 2 cassettes, and I'm going to leave it to the older people in the congregation to explain to the younger people what a cassette tape looks like. He wrote them under his own label of Fisherman Music. Many years later, after writing music that was so personal to him, he wanted to thank individuals or make dedications. So it seemed fitting that where his musical journey began with Fisherman, his musical legacy should end with Fisherman. Most of you may already be acquainted with the first 2 CDs, Faith and Dewfall. I thanked God the day Dewfall arrived at our door, 2 weeks earlier than expected, for 2 reasons. It was in time to accompany the pilgrimage last year, and second, I got to see Mike's face light up as he held Dewfall in his hands. His next question was typical: what about the other songs? So I promised him I would complete it. Myself and Andy found ourselves back in the liturgy shack and the recording studio. It was unbearably hard without our leader, but we felt his presence. He'd already chosen the songs and the title, Grace.
But now I'm found, was blind but now I see. Lord, I fall upon your mercy, Lord, I call upon your grace. Let me hear words of forgiveness in this holy place. Through many dangers, toils and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. Lord, I fall upon your mercy, Lord, I call upon your grace. Let me
2.5 years, Mike wrote 6 mass settings, 3 CDs, 3 resource packs, and more songs to come. During 2.5 years, after so many trips away, Mike spent beautiful times with his family, making memories that will stay with us forever. During 2.5 years, Mike not only kept his faith, he professed it, he lived it, and he inspired others through it. After 2.5 years, on June the 6th last year, I said goodbye to Mike. He was 48. The second song is called The Prodigal's Return. It is a simple, comforting song speaking of homecoming and forgiveness at the end of a long journey. He wrote it on the day he was told treatment was no longer working. He knew where his journey would end, but he wasn't afraid. He was going home. Grace is his gift to you.
Yes, I'm coming home to my Father. For a while I was lost in the shadows. For a while I was lost in my own heart's desire. But the wine tasted good, so I drank what I could. It's for a while I was lost in the shadows. But then I heard my Father calling out my name. A banquet held for my return, offering forgiveness even though I am to blame. Placing a robe around my shoulders. Oh, I'm coming home to my Father. Yes, I'm coming home to the promise of love, where the lost shall be found, and where goodness abounds. Yes, I'm coming home to my Father. For I have heard my Father calling out my name. A banquet held for my return, offering forgiveness even though I am to blame. Placing a robe around my shoulders. Oh, I'm coming home to my Father. Yes, I'm coming home to the promise of love, where the lost shall be found, and where goodness abounds. Yes, I'm coming home to my Father.